At 0510 on the 9th of November 2025, the sector southeast of Pokrovsk is locked under dense fog. Human eyesight stops at a few dozen meters, but inside a buried Ukrainian command post, the picture is clean. A wall of monitors tied into a NATO standard digital fire control network renders the valley as grids, ranges, and color-coded heat. Across that grid, 20 Russian vehicles form a continuous thermal spine. T-72B3 and T-90M tanks lead in column, followed by BMP-2 and BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles packed onto a road that narrows to barely 30 meters at its tightest point. Every engine block shows up as a hard white hotspot against the colder terrain. Spacing between vehicles shrinking as the corridor tightens. The Russian crews think the fog is their armor. It dulls optics, masks silhouettes from most drones, and muffles engine signatures. Formation speed drops toward 15 kilometers per hour as they enter the choke point, trusting weather and terrain more than any overwatch. On the Ukrainian side, no one looks outside. Operators read only sensor feeds, thermal cameras, ground radars, and live UAV links from Furia and Leleka 100, all fused into a single firing picture. As the column pushes deeper, the software tags each hull with an ID and slides it toward pre-registered artillery boxes already plotted along the valley floor. And when the last BMP-3 crosses the narrowest bend, Ukraine's internal marker for the kill gate, the trap that has been modeled for 2 days, finally closes. After 0500, the Russian assault group rolls out from its staging area toward one of the last usable armored approaches southeast of Pokrovsk. The lead T-72B3 follows a route file built the night before, driven mostly by inertial navigation and a patchy satellite signal that flickers under the weather. A T-90M locks in behind it, then 3 more T-72B3S. The rest of the column, BMP-2 and BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles, settles into what the plan calls 20 to 30 meter gaps on a planning map. It is a clean armored axis of advance engine synchronized, spacing predictable, radio traffic compressed into short, disciplined bursts inside the fog. That geometry begins to deform as the column enters the valley. Headlights stay off. Thermal imagers in the lead vehicles stare into a uniform brightness. Reflections from wet ground and suspended moisture smear contrast until shapes flatten and depth perception collapses. Drivers slow down to 15 kilometers per hour to avoid rear-end collisions. On both sides, the valley walls rise until the road is no longer a line across open ground, but a shallow trench of asphalt and dirt. Banks lifting almost straight out of the murk, the effective maneuver width shrinks to the road itself. Above them, an Orlan 10 circles and tries to provide overwatch. Its infrared feed fights the same moisture and temperature layers. What reaches the Russian net is a noisy image, vague, warm blotches on a cold background. No reliable trace of Ukrainian gun lines. No clean artillery signatures. In theory, the fog is concealment. In practice, it is noise layered on top of uncertainty. In the Ukrainian network, the same space is defined with more precision and less imagination. Thermal cameras along the forward edge of the defense see the valley as stacked horizontal bands of temperature. The road is a cooler strip cutting through the frame. The hulls of the Russian vehicles stand out as bright rectangles, each one tagged by software with an ID, heading, speed, and spacing estimate. Furia drones at higher altitude push down sharper IR frames, updating each vehicle marker on the grid every few seconds. Short-range ground radars sweep through the fog and bounce off metal, confirming direction and distance regardless of how thick the air becomes. On those screens, the assault group does not appear as scattered contacts. It is a single, continuous object moving into a fixed set of fireboxes laid over the valley floor. When the lead T-72B3 crosses into the first box, the system flags the entry and starts a countdown. No one needs to search visually, the solution already exists in the fire control database. Behind Pokrovsk, the M777 battery receives a final automatic update from the server wind. Air density, barrel wear folded into the firing tables. Gun crews are not scanning the horizon for muzzle flashes or silhouettes. They align tubes to azimuth and elevation on their digital sights, using grid coordinates and firebox numbers rather than landmarks. Then hold on safe. Hold on. Farther back, 2 65 crews adjust trails and trails only, assigned to reach deeper along the same axis if follow-on echelons try to exploit any perceived breakthrough. In the underground command post, a senior fire direction officer watches the column's icon move deeper into the narrowed section. Fireboxes along the valley populate with vehicle IDs 3 in one, 4 in the next. The tail end just crossing into the previous grid. Range and bearing lines tighten with each update as the column compresses slightly on grades and bends. The computer indicates that only minimal correction is needed for a time-on-target mission. A short, flat voice goes out on the Ukrainian net. Confirm Flamingo 3, killbox 12 through 14. Time on target. 2 Furia drones drop altitude, sliding in behind the fog bank and skimming just above the valley walls to maintain line of sight. On their screens, the Russian column is a continuous chain of heat sources along roughly 600 meters of road. Each hull is a distinct rectangle with a bright exhaust plume, density, and spacing matching the firebox layout. The drones do not need hull markings, camouflage patterns, or visible silhouettes. Their only task is to confirm that boxes 12, 13, and 14 hold the expected number of vehicles. Once that confirmation is received, the fire mission executes. Shells leave the M777S in rapid sequence. Fuses are programmed as a deliberate mix of airburst and point detonation based on box definitions. Airbursts over the front vehicles. Point detonations into the mid-column segments where armor and lighter hulls overlap. A NATO ballistic calculator synchronizes trajectories so rounds from different guns arrive over the valley within seconds of one another. In the bunker, countdown timers linked to each box fall towards 0. The Russian crews see no arcs. There is only a distorted roar swelling through the fog. Then multiple impacts along the first 100 to 150 meters of the valley. The opening salvo cuts a line across the head of the column. 155 mm rounds detonate above and between the lead vehicles, throwing fragments through optics, sensors, and exposed fittings. Blast waves hit the valley walls and come back, building overpressure in the confined space. The lead T-72B3 takes at least one near-direct hit. One track is torn, external fittings are shredded, and primary sights go dark. The tank loses steering, lurches sideways, its nose biting into the soft shoulder. The hull slews until it covers most of the 6 to 7 meter wide roadway. The T-90M behind it has only seconds to react in low visibility. Brake lights vanish into the white, and the crippled silhouette appears at short range. The driver brakes, tracks bite, but vehicle mass and a slight downhill grade carry the tank forward until its glacis plate rides up against the T-72B3's rear. The 260-ton hulls now occupy almost the full lane, forming a physical plug at the head of the column. In the center of the formation, a BMP-2 catches fragments from a round that lands just off the asphalt. Shrapnel punches through the engine compartment and fuel system. On the Ukrainian thermal feed, its heat signature spikes as fuel ignites, then stabilizes at a higher level. The vehicle rolls to a stop at an angle. Its burning hull pushes into the lane, narrowing the space left for the BMP-3 behind it by several meters. Russian radios spike with short transmissions, calls for smoke, reports of vehicles hit, orders to keep moving. Inside fog and valley walls 30 to 40 meters apart. Those instructions do not create maneuver space. There is no lateral room to bypass a blocked hull without attempting a blind climb onto a muddy bank under fire. On the Ukrainian side, the system reads the reaction in sequence. The first volley was built to break formation, not to kill everything in one pass. On the screens, software recalculates positions. The tanks at the front now register as a single blocked node. Speed indicators behind them fall toward 0 as the column compresses. Spacing collapses from roughly 30 meters to under 10 in multiple segments as vehicles close up on the obstruction. Some icons brighten as engines rev without movement. Others show erratic heat output consistent with damage and fire. Head and mid complied. A sensor operator notes, indicating the front and center of the column have reacted exactly as expected under sudden indirect fire in confined terrain. That status triggers the second phase, from shallow pits on the valley rim and from concealed pull-offs on narrow tracks. Ukrainian FPV teams bring their systems up. Each crew controls several quadcopters fitted with shaped charge warheads for tanks and fragmentation loads for lighter armor. There is no extended maneuver pattern. Launch orders are given as coordinates and priority lists first any operational hulls at the front, then the last moving hulls at the rear. The drones rise into the same grid structure the artillery uses. As they clear the ground and level a few meters above the slopes, their cameras pick up the thermal contrast of burning and idling vehicles ahead. Operators steer off those heat sources, judging range and angle from known distances between launch points and the designated boxes. One FPV angles along the right-hand slope toward the front obstruction. Through its lens, the crippled T-72B3 is a cooling block. The T-90M behind it still shows a stable, intense heat signature over the engine compartment. The operator centers the crosshair on that brighter rectangle, arms the warhead, and flies straight until the target fills the frame. On the thermal feed, the impact appears as a short, high-intensity spike at the rear of the T-90M silhouette. Immediately afterward, a larger area of elevated temperature spreads over the hull as fuel and oil ignite. The tank's clean-eye, coherent heat pattern breaks into multiple hotspots, signatures of a hull on fire. At the tail of the column, a BMP-3 trying to reverse away from the impacts is engaged in the same way. An FPV dives into the exhaust area. Engine temperature jumps, then drops sharply as the power pack seizes. The hull settles in place. External fire gradually dominates the thermal trace. Within a few minutes of the first salvo, the assault group can no longer move as a formation. The head is locked by two immobilized tanks occupying the full road width. The tail is pinned by at least one disabled BMP-3. A burning BMP-2 in the middle adds a second choke point. Artillery fire resumes to exploit that condition. M777 and two A65 batteries open up again, this time in a controlled stepping pattern. Each salvo is assigned to the next firebox along the valley, walking down the length of the immobilized column in 50-meter increments, with vehicles no longer maneuvering. The guns hold a steady rate of fire, adjusting only for small atmospheric shifts. Inside the valley, the 6 to 7 meter road with soft shoulders offers no realistic bypass around wrecked hulls under continued fire. Tanks and BMPs are crammed onto the same axis. Attempts to climb the banks, which rise several meters on either side, appear on Ukrainian sensors as brief changes in pitch angle and engine heat, followed by sudden stops. On the grid, those vehicles convert from moving targets into static heat sources inside their boxes. From the Ukrainian perspective, the engagement proceeds box by box. FPV teams focus on any hull still showing the smooth, consistent heat profile of a live engine or rotating turret. Artillery salvos concentrate on clusters where several such returns overlap, maximizing the chance of multiple kills per round. Ground spotters farther back from the valley mouth listen to the pattern of impacts and secondary detonations, adding one more layer of confirmation to sensor data. The fog that cuts visual range for both sides now mainly punishes the side without the integrated thermal and radar picture. It traps smoke and dust at low altitude, reducing what little visibility crews might gain by opening hatches. Sound bouncing off rock and fog makes direction finding by ear unreliable. Inside Russian hulls, usable information collapses to vibration, heat and broken radio traffic. On Ukrainian monitors, icons continue to update in near real time. One by one, symbols representing active vehicles change classification. Some drop out entirely as their heat signatures fall fast, showing hulls no longer generating internal heat. Others spread into larger, less defined shapes, consistent with stationary wrecks burning at the surface. The number of platforms carrying the steady profile of operational engines decreases with each artillery cycle and each FPV strike. From the first 155 mm impacts near the head of the column to the point where the last clearly moving vehicle stops, roughly 6 to 8 minutes pass. No Ukrainian infantry enters the valley. No anti-tank team needs line of sight. The engagement is executed through sensors, ballistic computation, and remote-guided munitions. On the Russian command net, higher echelons receive fragments blocked road, multiple vehicles hit, drones overhead, requests for smoke and air defense. Some transmissions cut off mid-sentence. Others repeat without coordinates. The net never resolves into a clear picture of where the column is immobilized or how many vehicles remain. Ukrainian Higher Headquarters, tied into the NATO standard system, records the full sequence, every shot, every drone sortie, every significant change in the valley's thermal pattern is logged and time-stamped. When the guns fall silent, analysts will be able to replay the engagement by time index, see where the lead tank turned, where spacing collapsed fastest, and where future fire plans can cut ammunition use further. As the last shells land and the howitzers stand down, only drones remain over the corridor. Furia and Leleka 100 circle at staggered altitudes. Cameras widened out. The 20 vehicles that entered the fog as a moving column now register as a continuous line of wrecks along roughly 600 meters of road, charred hulls and cooling metal occupying every firebox that was engaged. Firing units begin shifting reference numbers to other sectors. Sensors stay on station, watching for any movement hinting at recovery efforts or a second echelon on the same axis. In the minutes that follow, no new active heat sources appear among the wrecks, and no additional vehicles enter the monitored boxes. The corridor southeast of Pokrovsk that, on Russian maps, represented a covered armored approach now exists in Ukrainian systems as a blocked segment filled with 20 destroyed or disabled vehicles locked into place in less than 10 minutes of engagement time. By the time the drones finish their final pass, the corridor is marked in the network as fully blocked. All 20 vehicles are classified as destroyed or immobilized along roughly 600 meters of road. Thermal feeds show only cooling hulls. No active engine signatures remain in any firebox. The engagement closes in the system as a completed sequence detection, time on target strike, secondary FPV action, and final confirmation in Ukrainian and NATO planning tools. That valley is updated from a viable covered approach to a non-usable armored route. The same fireboxes are retained as a pre-validated kill zone, with firing data, atmospheric corrections, and FPV strike patterns stored for reuse. Route planning software flags the area as obstructed until physical removal of wrecks is confirmed. Post-action logs register key parameters: the time required to collapse spacing, the duration from the first 155 mm impacts to loss of mobility, number of FPV sorties, and ammunition expenditure per kill. The data confirms that an armored column moving in fog and confined terrain remains fully targetable through sensor fusion. As the last UAV returns to base, only static signatures remain. The valley is indexed across systems as a blocked segment and a ready-made engagement area for any future attempt along the same axis.